All right, this is Board Game Officer. I am back. Now, as you can see, this is not the game that I've been playing. I've just been watching this. It's on GameFound right now, or Kickstarter, one of the two, some crowdfunding. But it looked really, really interesting to me, and I was like, you know what? I want to try it. So I'm gonna try it today. I have played it. I played it once. I went through it once on my own just to make sure I kind of had most of the rules down. And then I'm gonna go through it again with you guys. So this first one, I'm just gonna go over the rules of them real quick. There's a lot of other videos that go through this. I don't think I could do better than the other people, but I want to at least kind of go through it. So if you guys are watching this, you at least kind of understand as I play through it of what's going on here. So this is a dungeon crawler game called Warcrow Adventures. Just as most dungeon crawlers, you've got your characters, you move around the board, interact with little pieces, and explore as you go on. One thing that I really like about this game, it's got two parts to it. It has combat and non-combat, meaning how your turns go are different whether you're in combat or not. It almost feels more D&D-esque in that way. Right? You can play on, move around, and then once combat comes, the initiative board comes out, and you start doing stuff. So, when it comes to non-combat times, meaning no enemies, when there's no enemy on the board, you're in non-combat. And anybody could go anytime they want. And when you go, you just take your little initiative token here that's by your board and flip it over, just as a tracker to say that you've gone that round. Each person gets a free move, which is located on that top right, number 3 right there. Right there, that's how many movements they could do on that free movement, and then they have one action on their turn. Their interactions, you can run, you can interact, you can attack, obviously not during non-combat. You can revive unconscious character, you can unequip or equip to yourself with new equipment. Right, you do one action, and then after you do that one action and move, you flip it over and anybody else can go. So it's really up to you who wants to go, but each person gets to go once. And then you're going through interacting with tokens. First thing, as well as this is an app integrated game. It reminds a lot of Descent, Legends of Dark. If you ever played that game with that app, right? You're playing it all, but it kind of controls your setup, your story, kind of going through how the enemies activate. So that way it's actually kind of nice. I think it's not super app integrated, meaning that the whole game is played on the app. But sometimes it's kind of nice not flipping through a book looking for what's next. Just being able to look at that app and it tell you what you need to do next and what the tokens do instead of trying to find that page when you interact with tokens. So I don't think it's too bad. I don't mind those in general. I know a lot of people are pretty against app games, which is fine. I tend to kind of like them. But so, once enemies are spawned, this is probably the most innovative part of this game, I think, is this initiative board. Right, just like in D&D, enemies come on board, you roll for initiative. However, you don't really roll for initiative here. What you do is that top left corner is your initiative number. So Suzuka has initiative 5. Darach has initiative 3. Nadra has initiative 4. And Ludivine has initiative of 4. So what you do is you take their initiative token and they're going to be placed on that board. However, the first thing that you have to do is you have to place the enemy's token on there first. So let's say we have that guy. So here we have two enemies. This guy, top left again, his initiative is 4. And this guy, Husk's initiative is 5. So the first thing you're going to do is put them on the board. And that's super important because that is going to dictate who goes first. Now, after you've got the enemies, whoever spawned on the board, now you're going to place them. Since they have the same initiative, the hero is actually going to go on top. He's got initiative 3, so he's be there by himself. Now, both of these have initiative 4, and so does that enemy as well. The heroes will always go on top. However, if you have two heroes that have the same initiative, you get to choose whoever wants to go first. Meaning, whoever's going first is going to be on top. Now, you have the initiative board on there. Just real quick about the initiative board is this little dial here, whoops, is going to go around to 1, 2, 3. Now that it's on a thing, Dark is going to take his turn. When his turn is, I'll kind of go through how you do a turn in combat. But when it comes to him, he'll do his turn. When he's done activating, his initiative is 3, so he's actually going to move 3 on the board. So he's going to go 1, 2, 3. That means as that goes around, he's going to come up again, and that's kind of how that works. There's a lot of cards and abilities and different things that will actually move yourself on this initiative track, increasing it and decreasing it, depending on the abilities and whatnot. So it's actually very fluid on where you're going to be on this initiative track board. So after he moves, no one else is left on 3. It continues on to 4. Once again, you just kind of go in order from top down. She's going to activate when she's done. Her activation was 4, so she's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. She's going to activate. Now she's done activating. She's also going to move 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now, next go round, she will actually go first before Ludovine. But also, the enemy will now attack. And the attack, you can see on the board, but also in the app it says who they want to attack and how they're going to attack. And so this marked, right? Yeah, marked. He's going to go, when he's activating, he's also going to move 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So as you can see, when this counter comes back around to number 8, he's actually going to go first before the other two now. So that's why sometimes pushing your initiative round can be really beneficial, because then you kind of get out of that stack, and you could either get hurt by getting your initiative track further, or kind of help yourself lessening your initiative value. Once again, she's going to come to, this is going to go to 5 now. She's going to go 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then she's going to go, who is also 5, and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, as you can see, that both enemies are going to activate before any other heroes are going to go, other than Darach. So he's going to go. Then when he's done, go 1, 2, 3. And it's just going to keep going around the board. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now, when it comes back around, 1, 2, 3. Ooh, look at that. Then these guys are going to come around. So now all 3 of these are going to be able to activate before the other ones. And it's just going to keep going around, around, around in circles until all enemies are defeated. Now, let's look at what an action looks like when it's your turn. When you activate, here's your board. Very complex, lots going on this board. So first off, let's just focus on this left side here. So this left side, the top left number, as we kind of talked about, is your initiative. Right? That's where you go on the initiative board. This little symbol there is how many energy cubes these guys here you get to have. So he gets to have 3 energy cubes to start off. The one with the heart is what you guess. They call it vitality in the game, but basically your health. So you have 4 health. The one with the boot is your movement. So he's got 4 movement. Now we've got 2 kinds of defense in this game. The one with the castle is your physical defense, so actual ranged or melee attacks. He gets to roll a blue die for his defense. And that little swirly guy is your spell resistance. So that means if someone casts a spell against you, you roll your spell resistance and not your physical against physical damage. So then you look down here and you've got these attributes. Now I think I might mess some of these up here. So the fist is going to be your strength. So if you have to do a strength test, and if the app tells you to do a strength test, you're going to roll an orange and a yellow die. and see how many successes you get. Then you've got agility, and you can see he's got that little extra star there. That means you get extra hits in your attack. And we'll kind of go through that when we actually look over what's on each dice. But there's a hollowed out, meaning there's a success symbol, but it's got a hollow middle. If you have the success or this mastered attribute, then that hollowed out one also counts as success. I'll kind of show that later. Then you've got intelligence, which is 2 yellows. Perception, which is 2 orange for him. This one is charisma, I believe, and just 1 yellow. And this one is willpower. And so for willpower, he'll roll an orange and a yellow. So these are your attributes, right, when you're making skill checks. Then at the bottom here, everyone has some certain ability. So with him, is you may reroll 1 die from the attack rolls with your bow. So if you're attacking with your bow, you get to reroll 1 dice. Now, one important factor with rerolling, you can only reroll each dice once. Meaning, if you reroll that die, you cannot reroll that particular dice again, but you may reroll other dice. And then you've got ability cards here. There's 2 things that ability card can do. You have this one that says, when you attack at the end of your resolution, rotate this card. So basically like tapping it. You're going to tap that card to do, this one is perform an attack against another enemy within range of your weapon that has the hunter's mark. And that's something that he could give the enemies. So you tap that. So an ability card you could just tap to use it, meaning that you can only use it once that turn. Beginning of next turn, everything will untap. And then he's got this one that's at the beginning of your activation. If there are no enemies within range 1 to 2, flip this card. So this ability is actually, as you can see at the top right hand side, it says front side. It can flip when you attack, modify 1 die from your roll, flip this card. So that way you could actually modify stuff, but it's going to flip back and forth or it's going to tap, kind of depending on the different abilities. Then this kind of says what that was talking about, the hunter's mark. So this is specific to him. He's got the hunter's mark. Is your attack rolls against targets bearing the hunter's mark gain this switch. Meaning if he rolls 2 exclamation marks, he gets to add 1 star, which is a success, to your roll. And then you could only have 1 hunter's mark on each enemy. 1 marker on each enemy. Now, we're going to let's go over equipment real quick as well. You've got your armor. So he's got 1 armor, so he will roll a black die for his armor. And then he's also got blue die for his defense. His bow, he's going to roll 2 yellows, and then on that right side, 2 to 5, that's the range of the bow. So that means the enemy has to be within 2 to 5. So if he's right up against the enemy, it doesn't count. He's got to step back. So he's 2 to 5, which makes sense. He's ranged his bow. And then he's got this item that also taps. When an enemy attacking you rolls their dice, and before the switch is step, rotate this card and reroll 1 of the enemy's dice. So another little ability that he starts out with. So now let's go over these energy cubes on this right side. So you must spend energy before you can do certain actions like attacking. Now, as you can see, there's 5 different rows here. You must choose 1 row to start placing your energy in. And each symbol means that you get whatever that is when you place that energy cube on there. However, the highlighted spaces means that you must put an energy cube there. Meaning if you start that top row, you must put an energy cube in all 3. If you start down here, you only have to place an energy cube in that area. So technically you put 1 there and 1 there. However, if you start it, a cube has to go in that whole highlighted area. Meaning, I could go there, that's fine, because there's no more highlighted area, I could do just 1. I could go there, do another just single 1. However, I cannot put this cube in any other one of these, because I can't put a cube in the other highlighted area, meaning I can't do it. But, I can, these unhighlighted space, You don't have to, but you can. Meaning I can do that if I want to. I can put them all on one line. I could put them one here and one here. I could put 1, 2, and then 3. Right, so as long as they're highlighted, you have to put them in. If they're not, they are optional. But if you want to start the line, you have to go left to right and fill in all the highlighted spaces. So each character has their own type of abilities here. So each character has each different, and on the back of this card actually shows you what each ability does. So you can displace yourself, which means moving 1. You can place a hunter's mark on an enemy, so that's how you place these markers to get this benefit. And by placing an energy cube on one of those things means you get to place it on an enemy. Then that one, you can third one down, you can set the result of 1 die on your roll. Then the +1 is an advance your position to your initiative token on the track. Advance 1 position. Wow, that's not written right. Advance your position 1, meaning your initiative tracking goes forward 1. So it's actually a negative thing because that means you're going slower, right? Because if he's only going to move up 3, but doing that places up 1, and then you're going to go 3 at the end still. So that's actually making you a little bit slower, but usually they're better abilities. Exclamation point, you can add an exclamation point to your roll. And then that little symbol is you may upgrade or downgrade 1 die from your roll. So now let's go over the dice from that. So there are 6 colors of dice. Black, blue, green, that is your defensive dice. Yellow, orange, red, that is your offensive dice. And they are in this particular order. Meaning, when that's to upgrade or downgrade one of your die, yellow is the lowest of the attack die, then orange, then red. So you can upgrade from yellow to orange, upgrade orange to red, and then vice versa, downgrade red to orange and orange to red, or orange to yellow. Same thing with the defensive dice you got. Black to blue, blue to green, and then back down, green to blue, blue to black. Now, if you only have the lowest die and it says to downgrade, you actually get rid of it. That's how you downgrade it, is getting rid of 1 die. Now, something that I want to point out. Alright, so here I've got all the dice here. So we'll go over the attack dice first. So when you upgrade these, the red definitely has the most hits. As you can see, there's actually a handful of sides that have double, but there's only one side. These are D8s. There is only one side with an exclamation point. So if you want exclamation points, the yellow is actually the best for that. So when it says to modify your dice, you could actually go up or down. Because sometimes you might want to go down. Maybe you don't want hits, and you've got some abilities you want to do with stun them, or daze them, or frighten them, or do something better, or some ability. You might want to downgrade. Downgrade is not always a bad thing. So you got yellow that has a lot of exclamation points. Yellow's kind of in between. It's got a lot of hits, but it's also got a lot of exclamation points. Now, as you can see here, let's find a good example here. So we've got normal ones, like this guy. Like that, you've got a normal hit and a normal exclamation mark. Meaning, those are both full, that's an exclamation mark, that's a hit, period. Then you've got ones like this, where as you see that hit actually is hollowed out. Now that's what I was talking about with this guy right here. When you're doing a skill check and you have that ability, that hollow hit, that hollow success counts as a success. If you do not, the hollowed ones do not count for anything. So you have to pay attention to your abilities and what your abilities want. For example, we've got her, Naira. And as you can see, down there underneath the two yellow dice, that's actually a hollow hit. So a hollow hit can add a hit to your roll. So hollow ones can do something different as well. But you have to make sure what it is, if it's a solid hit or if it's a not solid hit. Alright, we're back. I don't know what happened there. So, as I was saying, hollows, you have to pay attention 2 hollows. As you can see here, 2 exclamation points, normal ones, are going to inflict 2. But if you get 1 hollow one, it actually inflicts 2. Or 2 of them hit inflicts 1, but 1 hollow inflicts 2. Right, so you have to pay attention to what those are have written on each ability, whether it's hollow or normal. And so you can see a hollow hit, and then a hollow exclamation point. So that's the attack dice. The defensive dice are pretty similar. You have a lot of exclamation points, middle, mostly defense. As well, they've got the hollow exclamation, and then they have the hollow defense dice. Same thing. The hollow defense do not count as defense unless otherwise stated. The full ones are the actual defense. Now, something that's really interesting, I don't fully understand this, of the reasoning of this, but I guess. So your armor, that black dice, is added to your attack and your defensive roll. So his attack will be 2 yellows and a black. And his defensive roll will be a blue and a black. Why armor is added to an attack roll doesn't really make sense. Totally makes sense in defense, right? Yeah, your defense and your armor, right? Yeah, like that makes sense of why you get to add those. Why you add armor to an attack? I don't know, but that means you get to roll dice, and I'm all for that. Now, when you make an attack, so let's say he's making this attack, so he's going to roll 2 yellow and 1 black. So 2 yellow and 1 black. He's going to roll that. Ooh, that was not a very good hit or roll. So you're going to look at that. So he's got 1 exclamation, 2 exclamation, a hollow, and a hollow hit. A hollow exclamation, hollow hit, and a hollow defense. So now we could look here. I could tap this so I can attack again, so that doesn't work right now. Let's pretend we have this. So actually, I should have looked at this before and modify 1 dice. So that means that before the roll, I could have switched one of those yellows up to an orange. But I do have 2 exclamations. So from the roll, I do not have any hits right now. Nothing hits. But if the enemy has that marked token, I do have 2 exclamation points. Therefore, I get to add 1 success. So that means I have 1 hit going through. Then you're going to look at this guy. As you can see right there, it's the same thing here. You got that armor and that physical defense there. You can add those. So he's going to roll 1 black dice against that physical defense. So he's got 1 hit coming in. So he rolls 1 black dice, gets an exclamation. Exclamation doesn't do anything. Therefore, that hit goes through and he gets 1 damage. If he were to roll a normal defense here, like that, he would have blocked that 1 and got no damage. And that's how you resolve a single attack. You make sure you modify any dice you want to modify, meaning instead of rolling 2 yellows, he could have done a yellow and a orange and then the black if he would have modified first. As you can see, we got 2. Ooh, so we got 1 success and then 5 exclamation points. So he could do this once again, because 2 exclamations to add 1 success to your roll. But you can only use these switches, what they call it, these abilities, only once. Even though I technically could activate it twice with how many exclamation points I got, I can only do it once to add 1 to my roll. So this time with all this, I only hit twice. Because I got 1 hit, I turned 2 of these to a hit, and then that's it. So that's kind of how an attack goes there. One last thing I want to go over is these 3 kind of play pretty similarly. However, as you can see, she only has 2 energy cubes, and then at the beginning of your activation, you have 1 dark energy. So this black is considered a dark energy cube. Now, this kind of plays a little interesting. So these work just the same. However, this little symbol here and here mean only a dark cube can be placed there, meaning you cannot place a normal cube at one of those areas. Whenever you place an energy cube anywhere on this board, other than this one, that little highlighted one means a dark energy has to go there, but you do not get a stain. So, if this gets placed on any square, you get a stain token. And these tokens can count up and down. So, stain obviously is kind of like this taint that's going on when you use this magic, right? She's a magic dealer, she's a spellcaster. So the magic is almost like darkened. The more you use it, the more stain you get. And then at the end of the whole round, or end of the scenario, if you have 10 or more stain, you get a, what is it called? You get a certain card. So if you have 10 or more at the end, you actually have to draw a tinge card for every 10 that you remove from your character token at the end of the scenario. Once you move 10, you get a tinge card, and tinge cards, according to the rulebook, they don't have any through this setup, but tinge cards are actually super powerful, helpful cards that they actually help you. However, if you are to get your third tinge card, you die and you lose. Right? So it's almost like that. Cthulhu Death May Die, right? The closer you get to death, the actually more powerful you are. That's kind of how it is with this magic. You can kind of build up that tinge, but you want to manage it because if you get too much tinge, then you die and lose. So it's kind of that's a fun little aspect that you can do with the magic spellcasters in this game. I think that is about it overall. Quick rundown. I'll go through the actual abilities right before we start to play. I'm going to make a separate this is a separate video just so it's not one super long video, but I'll make a couple shorter ones here. That way we can not make this so long. And then as I'm going through, if there's stuff I forget, I'll kind of throw it in. But this is just a quick overview. Once again, this is just me. I read the rulebook just a couple times. I watched some videos. So I may be missing something. However, I'm just going to go with that. And then I will do the video playthrough next.